What's up, guys? It is week 2 of the aggressive cut, and I'm officially down 3 pounds of pure fat. I've been keeping my protein high, and I finally got used to my new gym, and my strength is going up every single week. So that's usually an indicator that you're not losing much muscle in a deficit. And on top of that, I've been doing this while eating out multiple times. I had 2, maybe 3 cheat meals in total over the past couple of weeks. And I had a strategy every single time that I had a cheat meal, because you can't set aside everything in life for dieting. If you're not competing, it's just not practical. And I had Valentine's Day, so I had to take Barbella out. Anyway, I'm going to talk about my eating strategy and how I planned for those cheat meals in order to stay on track, what I did in terms of cardio, what I did in terms of my training, and also go into details about my training split. All right, let's start with talking about my exact training split. So I follow basically an upper-lower high-frequency program where I focus on strength training on the first day that I hit my upper body, and then I hit a little bit more higher volume with emphasis on hypertrophy on the second day. So I'm getting a mixture of high and low reps, because that's how I've always preferred to train. If you're always training in the low rep range, you might not be using the best technique, to be honest. And I don't think, despite what they say online, I don't think it's that much more fatiguing to go into a slightly higher rep range. In fact, it makes training also a lot more interesting. And for me, that's well worth the extra quote unquote fatigue that you generate from doing an extra couple reps. Now, that said, your training split shouldn't be based on how I train, because your training split and the ideal training split for everyone depends on their genetic strong points. It depends on their genetic weaknesses. And if you copy exactly what I'm doing, you're going to find out quickly that maybe your arms are more responsive, I suppose, than mine would be. And so you end up with bigger arms and a small back or a small chest or small shoulders or something. And really, as a natural, the best thing and only thing you can do is train based on proportions, is maximize proportions, determine what your weaknesses are, and customize your programming based on those weaknesses to maximize the proportions of an aesthetic physique that makes you look like you're on gear. So for me, that's emphasizing my shoulders. It's emphasizing my arms, especially because my arms are very stubborn and they don't grow very well. And if you end up with a huge chest and small arms, well, you just don't look impressive, to be honest. So my focus is arms and shoulders, and my chest is actually one of my strong points. Now, you might be thinking, okay, why are you training bench press so much if your chest is one of your strong points? That is a great question. The only reason why I'm training bench press is because I got bored of training. I got bored of just maximizing aesthetics, and I wanted to chase something. And half the point of the gym is to enjoy what you're doing. So chasing that 315 bench for me was just purely for fun. Realistically, I looked my best when I actually trained chest the least. So that's a really good example, right? If you also, wanted to train chest the same way that I did, and you don't have a genetically strong chest, then your chest is going to be tiny, right? So that's why you don't copy exactly what I'm doing. But that's why I'm explaining to you why I train in this manner, right? It really has to be customized based on your genetics. Some people have stronger arms, some people have stronger shoulders. And so you shouldn't be copying exactly what I'm doing, but some principles remain the same, right? So some training principles, regardless of, who you are, what your genetics are like, some training principles remain the same. And that's maximizing your frequency, making sure that you're getting stronger over time on every single movement, really, but mainly your major compounds like your main pressing, your main back movement, your main squatting movement. Those 3 are the king, and usually an overhead pressing variation as well. If you're getting stronger on all 4 of those things over time, that's how you know you're building muscle. Muscle is just a result of getting stronger, and vice versa. If you got stronger, it means you built muscle. And if you built muscle, you automatically will be getting stronger. They're just tied together. It goes hand in hand, and it's very, very straightforward, right? There's no need to overcomplicate all of that stuff, mechanical tension, all these studies and things that people discuss online now. It's all mumbo jumbo. You don't really need to really get into those details. It's all about getting stronger. Strength equals size. That's what it comes down to. That's all that matters. And for people to maximize how they look and get fake natty accusations, it's about knowing what you need to emphasize more and focusing on getting as strong as possible at those muscle groups. All right, so programming is complex, yes, but also extremely simple. and it's just dependent on the individual. All right. So yeah, for my cut, I am just reducing volume. I train pretty intuitively at this point. I don't go into the gym and have an exact number that I want to hit. I just have a reference in my head, and I use an app called RepCount to track what I lifted over the last few weeks, and I make sure that I'm progressing over time. On a cut, the goal is actually to, at the very least, maintain, but you should and can be building strength on a cut as well. And what determines if you keep most of your muscle is how well you do this. So that comes either intuitively or through very intentional programming and very, very intentional reps and sets based on your experience level as well. Because the stronger you are, the more force your muscles can generate, and the more fatiguing and the more recovery you actually need from a single session. So think of it this way. A guy that benches 3 plates for reps is going to need more recovery from a single set than someone who benches 135 for reps. It's very simple again. Now let's talk nutrition. I already gave away my macros in the last video, but 95, maybe 90% of your meals and your macros should be on point throughout the week. There is some flexibility as long as you know how to track. And for most people, I wouldn't actually recommend going out and having cheat meals. I'm only able to do that because I know exactly how things are cooked. I know what the macros are and things. I've been estimating and tracking calories for the last 8 years consistently. So when I go out and have a burger, when I go out and have, some Korean food or some sushi, I know exactly what I'm eating in terms of calories. I can roughly estimate how much a sushi roll has in it based on the amount of rice, based on the sauces, based on the ingredients, and do that with maybe a 10 to 20% margin of error. And that margin of error can be accounted for with a little bit of cardio, which is exactly what I did. So because it was the holidays, we had Valentine's Day, I had to go out and spend some time with my girlfriend, Barbella, and I also went out to spend some time with my friends because, I can't just disappear and lock in on my diet for the next several months. That's just not sustainable. It's not realistic. It's not practical. So to create that buffer and account for that margin of error that I'm talking about, I did a couple cardio sessions. Now, normally early in the diet, you don't really have to do cardio. Just the reduction in eating, a slight deficit in your diet alone, will be enough for you to lose 1 to 2 pounds per week, or more accurately, 0.5 to 1% of your total body weight per week. And on an aggressive cut, it's usually towards the higher end of that. For me, that's 1.5 to 2 pounds per week. Now, to create that buffer, what I did was I did a cardio session, a deliberate cardio session, every single time that I knew I was going to eat out. And on top of that, I would eat high protein, pretty much pure protein throughout the day for lunch and before dinner. And then I would save the bulk of my calories, maybe over 1,200 calories for nighttime. And that way I stayed well under 2,000 calories per day. I felt better from the cardio, my mood was enhanced, and I stayed on my track. I stayed exactly on track. I stayed exactly on pace for what I wanted for weight loss. My strength went up in the gym because my protein was high, my carbs were properly utilized for good workouts, and I'm getting stronger every single week. And that basically means that even though I was eating out, I pretty much nailed my nutrition. And if I didn't nail it, and let's say I was off in my estimates by 10 to 15%, then the cardio pretty much took care of that. If anything, I'm further along than I would have been if I stuck to a strict, rigid diet and I didn't do that extra cardio. So yeah, that's basically what I did as a strategy to stay on track. Now, would I recommend this to most people? No, because most people, if they estimated what they were eating, probably have more like a 30 to 40% margin of error. So you could actually end up in a surplus, even if you do cardio or just at maintenance. Because if you say, for example, you go out and have a burger and you guess that burger is 600 calories. Well, maybe that burger was actually 1,000 and you didn't account for how oily it was, all the sauces, all the condiments on there that you don't have experience really tracking and getting a portion size eyeball out of. If you're not able to really eyeball that, then you might be off by another 200 calories just in sauces alone, because a mayo-based sauce is over 100 calories per serving, but a ketchup or mustard-based sauce is maybe 25 to 50 per serving. and you don't even know what the serving size looks like. So that's where you can go wrong. And so if you end up eating that burger and you think, okay, I'm just going to do 30 minutes of cardio and I'll still be in a deficit, what's going to happen is you're going to end up at maintenance that week off of that burger. And so that lack of experience makes it difficult for you to do this. So what would I suggest? Well, I would suggest at the very least going to places that you can track. So places with standardized portion sizes, for example, fast food chains even, as long as you're staying within that calorie deficit, as long as you're hitting your protein and staying within the calories, then you're still going to stay on track. For more experienced people that have been tracking for years, they can go to places that are, I guess, more homemade and eat sushi and things like that, because that is something that you can accurately eyeball, and that comes with experience. That's not something you can really, I guess, adapt to unless you do have the experience. And that came with years of tracking. I used to take out a scale at the restaurant. I mean, just bring it out, put it on the table, and then measure the food that I was eating. Over time, you get a really, really good laser eye vision of what you can actually eat and where the hidden calories are. And yeah, that comes with time. I can't really suggest anything else to implement that. So yeah, to summarize, it comes down to experience. Eating out requires experience in tracking calories, and to account for that slight margin of error, you just add a little bit of extra cardio. On top of that, I've been doing a lot of steps lately, back to 10,000 steps per day. Usually throughout a work day, I'll just get some steps in straight in the morning. That extra 30 minutes in the morning easily creates a 5K step. I basically get 5K steps early in the morning straight away. And then you accumulate the last 5,000 throughout the day. It's extremely easy if you just throw in a little bit of routine walking in there. If you don't have a treadmill at home like I do, just go outside and do a 30-minute walk in the morning. Simple as that. And these small habits really do add up, because 10,000 steps at my height and at my weight is an additional 300 to 400 calories per day of burned calories. So if you don't move at all, if you don't walk and you don't introduce that small, tiny habit of walking, you have to eat 300, 400 calories less. And that could put you at maintenance again. If you're eating in a theoretical deficit, right, but you're not moving at all, you might actually need to account for the fact that you're not moving at all, and you just eat even less. And so balancing being active and how you're eating is crucial. You need to get a little bit more active at the very least. Otherwise, your deficit in terms of food is going to be extremely low. You're going to have to eat way less, and that's going to affect your training. That's going to affect how much muscle you retain. And yeah, those are all variables that need to be accounted for. Now, at the moment, I would say my physique doesn't look anything close to how I looked in my Instagram reels, in my TikTok. And that's simply because I still have a lot of body fat. I'm 163 now, 162, I believe. Yeah, 162 in the morning, down 3 pounds of fat. But you can't expect, even on an aggressive diet, to look significantly or dramatically different within the first 2 weeks. The first 2 to 4 weeks, even on the most aggressive deficit, is only going to shed a bunch of water weight, and if you're lucky, lose maybe 5 pounds of fat at most. 5 pounds, maybe 6. Okay, and 6 pounds of fat is not going to do anything for your physical appearance. Where the changes visually really happen is at week 8, at week 12, at week 16, and so on. And once you hit a certain point in time where your physique is already lean, all the fat and all the weight you lose from that point on is where you see significant differences week to week. All right, when you have a lot of fat, losing 10 pounds isn't going to make you look very different. Losing 20 pounds for some people won't make it look different. If you're above 15% body fat, that 20 pounds isn't going to make you look different at all. It's really when you tap into that 13, 12% region and continue losing weight from there at a consistent pace that dips you quickly into the 10, 9, 8% region, because you don't have much fat left. That's basically how it works. And really the only way you can look impressive as a natural is either blast trend and claim natty, or I'm just kidding, don't do that. Or you get extremely lean and you dial in your strength training, and you dial in your recovery, your nutrition, your sodium intake, your water intake, your supplements. Everything has to fall into place for you to look extremely good as a natty. And part of it is an illusion. But part of it is also nailing everything. It's absolutely nailing everything and nailing your bulk on the way to that final look as well. Because if you didn't properly execute your bulk, if you didn't gain any muscle, right, if you didn't get your hormones to a really healthy level, then by the time you cut, you're just going to end up shriveled. You're going to end up smaller than you were possibly than you were before the bulk. So that's the importance of the bulk. That's the importance of execution. That's the importance of intent with your training. You can see here that my arms have definitely grown. I'm not very happy with myself in the moment, but here watching and reviewing the footage, I can see that my arms, which have been a weakness for years, finally grew. My triceps grew from heavy dips and heavy pressing. My biceps have grown from just using more preacher curls, more stable exercises, and really truly pushing myself to get stronger on those exercises. I definitely have a lot of fat and it's distributed all across my body, but luckily not too much of it, or not as much of it as before, is in the waist area. I've also been training abs consistently, so that really helps. In the next 10 pounds of weight loss, I'm probably going to start seeing the abs a lot more again. At this point, I don't really see them yet, but that's expected. It's only been 2 weeks, like I said. Thanks for joining me on this update. I hope you got lots of information there. There was a ton of information. That might have been the most boring dry video of all time, but I basically spilled all the secrets for how I stayed on track and ate out. Anyway, please like, subscribe, comment down below what you want to see next, any questions you have, and I'll answer them in the next video. I'm going to update you guys again in 1 to 2 weeks on how the cut's going. Honestly, the Arnold Expo is coming up soon, and everybody there is going to be on trend, so I got to look my best, or attempt to. I won't be anywhere near my most shredded, but got to do our best anyway. See you next time.